Today, we look at a scrappy, big punching featherweight great who fought many of the best in his era. How good was terrible Terry McGovern? Terry McGovern was born on March 9, 1880, in Johnstown, Pennsylvania. McGovern stood 5 feet 3 with a 65-inch reach. He had an aggregate weight of 120 pounds for his career. McGovern's career spanned from 1897 to 1908. He had 60 wins. This included 4 losses and 4 draws. 42 of his wins were by knockout, though some sources suggest 45. He also had 10 no-decision bouts. His win percentage was 77, and his knockout percentage was 54. McGovern is most associated with the featherweight division, ranging from 117 to 126 pounds. McGovern was a compact fighter with a big punch. By some standards, he could be considered a knockout artist. He had an offense-first mentality and would overwhelm opponents by charging and throwing many heavy shots. Though hardly ever weighing more than a bantamweight, he carried his power between multiple weight classes. McGovern's knockout percentage increased as the competition improved, and he ultimately became a 2-division world champion. McGovern also had one of boxing's most controversial fights. McGovern's first notable opponent was Tim Callahar, a solid featherweight contender who would fight a number of the top featherweights of his era. The two men first met on July 23, 1898, and Callahar won via 11th round disqualification after McGovern hit him during a clinch. McGovern had been warned about such previously throughout the fight. At the behest of his second, Callahar used an Irish insult within the last clinch, making McGovern lose his cool. In an August 20 rematch the same year, the two warriors fought to a 20-round draw. The two men would have a third match on November 19 of the same year, with McGovern knocking Callahar out in the 10th round. After knocking out multi-time title challenger Casper Leon on January 30, 1899, McGovern would get his first opportunity at a world title. On September 12, 1899, McGovern would step in the ring with reigning world bantamweight champion Pedlar Palmer of the UK. Palmer came into the fight undefeated in 28 fights. McGovern would make a major statement as he swarmed Palmer from the opening bell, smashing him with combinations to the head. Palmer remained game, but had no answer for McGovern, and in less than 3 minutes, McGovern sent him to the canvas in a world of hurt. Though he tried mightily, Palmer could not rise from the canvas, handing McGovern the emphatic title win. McGovern, 19 years old at the time, became the first fighter in boxing history to win a title via first-round knockout under the Marquess of Queensberry rules. McGovern would vacate the world bantamweight title in 1900. After defeating former bantamweight world champion Harry Forbes on December 22, 1899, McGovern would step in the ring with a Canadian-born fighter regarded as the greatest featherweight of all time and the first black athlete to win a world championship, Little Chocolate, George Dixon, on January 9, 1900. Dixon came in as the reigning world featherweight champion with 93 fights under his belt. The fight went down in New York, and Dixon took an aggressive approach through the early portion of the fight, leading with his left and swinging for big shots. McGovern used this opportunity to work the body of Dixon. In the 7th, McGovern staggered Dixon and busted open his nose. McGovern floored Dixon at the beginning of the 8th with a left-right hook combo to the head. McGovern would then start to land hard blows to the body that sent Dixon to the canvas 8 times in the round. Dixon's corner threw in the sponge by the last knockdown to end the fight. With the win, McGovern became the new world featherweight champion. McGovern would lace up the gloves to take on Oscar Gardner on March 9, 1900. This fight would prove controversial as Gardner dropped McGovern in the first round, leading McGovern to hold on to Gardner's legs for 6 seconds, with the referee not starting the count. Upon recovering, McGovern dropped Gardner multiple times in the 2nd and 3rd rounds. McGovern wouldn't let up and eventually knocked Gardner out in the 3rd round. After a TKO win over title contender Tommy Warren and a KO victory over title contender Tommy White in April and June of 1900, respectively, McGovern would again step in the ring with George Dixon on June 23 in Chicago. The fight started quickly, with McGovern swarming Dixon throughout the contest. At times, Dixon could counter and, despite staggering McGovern with a solid shot in the second round, didn't have enough steam behind his punches to garner McGovern's respect. McGovern continued to pounce, mixing in bodywork, and won a clear 6-round decision. McGovern's next fight was not far removed, as on August 16, 1900, he took on former world featherweight and lightweight champion Frank Erne of Switzerland. The fight took place in front of 14,000 fans at New York's Madison Square Garden. Erne was the world lightweight champion, though the title was not on the line for this fight. True to form, McGovern rushed Erne from the start, letting off fast combinations that surprised Erne. Erne caught McGovern with a shot that sent him to the canvas in the first round, which led to McGovern grinning once he was on his feet. From there, McGovern started to savagely aim for the body of Erne. In the third round, McGovern smashed Erne in the jaw, sending him to the canvas twice. Erne was severely hurt but made it to his feet both times. McGovern rushed him again for the kill as Erne's second threw in the sponge to save their fighter from a brutal knockout, handing McGovern the third-round TKO victory. McGovern had claim to the world lightweight title, though it was never official. McGovern's next fight is his most notable and one of the most controversial fights in the sport's history. On December 13, 1900, McGovern met a former champion regarded as the greatest lightweight and the first black world lightweight champion, the Old Master, Joe Gans, in Chicago. The catchweight limit was 133 pounds. McGovern came in at 124 pounds. In what is widely regarded and reported as a fixed fight, McGovern knocked out Gans in the fight's second round. Gans, an excellent boxer and puncher, handicapped his offense in what visibly looks to be a purposeful effort. The fight is the only known video of Terry McGovern in action. Both fighters had warrants issued for their arrest for disturbing the peace after the fight. Additionally, fighting was banned in Illinois for 20 years in the aftermath of the fight and subsequent investigation. After knocking out Oscar Gardner and the hard-hitting Aurelio Herrera in the first half of 1901, on November 28, McGovern put his world featherweight title on the line against Hall of Fame featherweight young Corbett II. Corbett was known to pack power in both fists. The two men met head-on, fighting fire with fire, and both having their moments. After dropping McGovern in the early part of the second round, Corbett was ushered in the ropes in one of the ring corners and managed to land a huge shot that knocked McGovern out cold. Corbett became the new champion while handing McGovern the first non-disqualification loss of his career. In a highly publicized fight, Corbett and McGovern would face each other in a rematch on March 31, 1903. The fight was fought at a catchweight of 127 pounds, and it was known before the fight that Corbett was having trouble making weight. The fight would be a classic, action battle. Corbett's right to the jaw sent McGovern down for a 7 count in the first round. McGovern was able to land a shot that cut Corbett's eye in this round. McGovern rocked Corbett in the second round and had him dazed before Corbett again landed a shot that sent McGovern to the canvas. Corbett maintained the more potent jab throughout the fight. McGovern had a solid fifth round by focusing on bodywork, making him successful in many fights. McGovern again went down in the seventh and had to be warned for hitting low in the eighth and ninth rounds. In the 10th, Corbett landed another hard right to the jaw that sent McGovern down, bouncing his head from the canvas. McGovern was out cold, and Corbett would claim another emphatic victory. Common during that time, a reenactment video with paid actors was filmed to capture and provide a glimpse of how the fight may have been contested. McGovern would take on another great action fighter and champion from his era, battling Nelson, on March 14, 1906, in Philadelphia. Nelson controlled the earlier rounds, forcing McGovern to swing wildly in the latter part of the 6-round contest to make up ground. Nelson continued to have the better showing, and many news outlets reported McGovern as barely winning more than a round. The fight was ultimately ruled a draw due to a Pennsylvania law preventing a rendered decision. McGovern would meet young Corbett II for the third and final time on October 17, 1906, in what was his last major matchup. The fight, which took place in Philadelphia, was declared a draw after 6 rounds. McGovern was down in the second, but the fight was close enough that varying newspapers provided differing opinions on who they viewed as the winner in a close fight. McGovern would fight twice in 2 draws in 1908 before hanging up the gloves for good, closing the chapter on one of boxing's great action fighters of the sport's early days. For better or worse, his fight with Joe Gans remains one of the most iconic matches in the sport's history. McGovern faced 5 Hall of Famers. His most notable fights were against Hall of Famer George Dixon, Hall of Famer Battling Nelson, Hall of Famer Frank Erne, Hall of Famer Joe Gans, and Hall of Famer young Corbett II. Terry McGovern died on February 22, 1918, at 37, from pneumonia and Bright's disease. McGovern accomplished a great deal during his career and is unquestionably one of the most exciting fighters to lace up gloves. McGovern's achievements continue to be appreciated over time, and he and Joe Gans are 2 great fighters who are forever linked. McGovern was inducted into the International Boxing Hall of Fame in 1990.